Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Wealth and Wellness Report podcast. This is where we talk with visionaries, creators, entrepreneurs, musicians, folks in technology. Today, I'm super pumped to have my friend Craig McNamara on the show. We're going to talk about technology and software and music, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm pumped to have a chat with you, dude, because we hang out quite a bit, play music. Yeah. You're a guitar player. You're also a software engineer. We have a lot of mutual friends. We met probably back in 2011 or 2012 when you moved over here from the East Coast,
New York. Yeah.
Utica. Yeah, tell us about that move and kind of your beginning in California, man.
Yeah, my California origin story. So let's see. I've been a software developer since 2002. I'm 23 years into it now. Wow. But yeah, so Central New York it's got a bit of a software scene, and most of that sort of revolves around the Air Force Research Lab in Rome, New York. And so I'd kind of been doing my thing there for a little while, for nearly 10 years. And I kind of ran out of places to work. It's a very small scene, and I kind of wanted something different. So, my wife and I just decided that it was like time to look for something else. I went to a conference, and I met some people that wanted to hire me, and that sort of like set everything into motion. To shorten the story, basically we moved 2,300 miles, if I recall. And, we landed here in the Bay Area. I had a job. Rachel didn't find a job yet. And we had zero friends because everyone that we knew lived back in Utica and Rome, New York, Central New York. Yeah. So we basically made this big sort of break from our life and had to start fresh.
Oh, wow.
So
how old were you at the time?
Let's see, what was I, about 26? I don't know, bad at maths.
Cool. So, but it was young enough to be adventurous.
It was 2011. I was born in 1984. Let's leave that to the readers. But anyhow, so yeah, sort of late 20s, and so we got out here. We had a little bit of family. We had an aunt and an uncle, and I had two younger cousins, but that was like the extent of who we knew out here. So got to work and. Basically decided that we needed a hobby and we needed to socialize. So I went out and basically found a couple bands that were hiring on Craigslist. So I signed up for a rock band that needed a guitarist, and a hip hop band needed a bass player. At the time, like, I had a bass. I was certainly, like, I hadn't gigged or anything. I would just bring it to jams. But I was like, this seems like fun. Seems like a great way to meet people. So I showed up, I auditioned, and after the audition, we hung out and we jammed for a little bit. And they're like, hey, do you want to jam for a little bit? And that little bit turned into 90 minutes. Then they called me back and they said, well, another guy came through. He was really good, but we gelled with you more, so you're in. Here's a list of 18 songs. We have a gig in 2 weeks.
Was that the group? Was that our friend?
That
group?
that was our mutual friend Eric and his band. We've had many names. I think it was Digital Downfall at the time.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was live hip hop, super fun, very energetic. And I immediately had homework, but getting in with the band, that's basically how I met a lot of the people that I have, other than work people.
Yeah.
That sort of initial contact, our friend Eric was the sort of leader of the band, the MC, wrote all the songs, and we used to go around places. So one of the first things was hey, I forget if it was his birthday party or we were just hanging out or something. We went down to, I think, House Stout in Redwood City.
Yeah.
A German beer hall, and I walk in and there's 23 people or something in there, and everyone's like, hey, Eric. And Eric's like, here, this is my friend Craig. This is my new friend Craig. He plays bass in the band.
Yep.
And that's how I met you. I met, our friend Steve, and pretty much everyone else in that
crew.
Sort of constellation, sort of from that initial contact point.
Yeah.
So I went from zero to built-in community just like that through one band.
At the time, I wasn't really playing a lot. I played the guitar since I was about 13 years old. And when you came into the crew and the guys were all playing and stuff, I was like super stoked that everybody was getting together and playing music, but I was in like a very different place at that time and not really focusing on music too much. But you slid into the crew. You guys started gigging. I remember being extremely inspired and watching you guys play and thinking how awesome it is that Eric in particular was taking a lot of what he's been wanting to do over the last who knows how long, since we were in high school. He was always emceeing. He was always doing like hip hop and like just freestyle rap, and finally got, you know, a group of guys to play like his dad, because his dad would play all the time. He would have like these block parties and he'd play the keys and all these guitar players.
Legendary stuff.
Legendary stuff, man. So that was like super inspiring. So you built a career in software engineering. What originally drew you to that field, and what keeps you curious in that industry right now?
So getting into software. So we had, like, I grew up in a big family. We never had like a great computer. But we did have like a lot of hand-me-down computers came through the house. Like I think the first one we had was like a Tandy TX1000, which was like my grandfather's old. You know, he ran a business on the thing, and then like we got it, so we had all sorts of weird files, and it was mostly like an old man keeping spreadsheets computer. That we like, you know, figured out how to get some games onto, and like, you know, rode the thing into the ground. But like we basically went through a series of these things, and like each time we got a little more into it, figured a little more out about it, and then, you know, it was mostly just a hobby, and then you know, I mentioned the Air Force Research Lab, like. You know, as I was sort of approaching college age, like we had some friends whose parents worked there, and like we knew that they had a summer program, and, you know, basically the option was like, I don't know, work in fast food, or rake leaves, or, you know, do a little bit of homework, and you can maybe get a job like learning how to program computers. So, you know, I did what I could to get ready for that by my senior year of high school. Like my high school is right next to the community college in Utica. Perfect. Yeah, so you could take your senior year, as many classes as you wanted up there. You could take your entire senior year at the community college. So instead of like, you know, phoning it in senior year of high school, I went and did first year computer science. And my brother had a job up at the Air Force Research Lab as an intern, and basically like somebody wanted to hire him because they heard that he was pretty good. And he's like, well, you can't hire me because I like the project I'm on. I have a brother though. So he basically like dropped my resume on their desk, and you know, I got a call, went in, met some people, and they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's sort of very low stakes. It's like internship stuff.
Oh, cool. So you weren't diving into like government contracts right out of the gate yet?
No. Okay. No, I had like one year C++ at that point. Got like, you know, it was making sense to me. I was enjoying it, but like I didn't have a whole lot of experience, and I basically went from that to like this huge project. And since I was going to school locally, they had an option to like let you stay on. So I went from like at the end of the summer, most people pack up and they go where they're going. And they're like, well, you know, you can stay and keep on working. You know, we like the work that you do. You know, working in this certainly gets you like, you know, it's a good job for somebody that's studying computer science, and it's very flexible. So that sort of got me the opportunity that I needed to like start to really dive into it, and to really like sort of be incentivized to get into it. So
you cut your teeth there essentially.
Yeah. I went from like zero experience, like academic programs, you know, one file does a thing, to like thousands of files, like full like Windows UI, like this is like shrink wrapped software. Versus just like, oh, hey, I got my first thing working.
That's amazing.
The old hello world.
That's amazing. And so I think there's like part of what I really like about you, Craig, is like you have this analytical software brain on one side, and then on the other side is like this super creative musical, you know, part of you that like a lot of people don't have. Either they're very analytical, they're very like software, like mathematical minded, or, you know, they're artists, they're creatives, they kind of go with the flow, and, you know, they're more, they're not as analytical and as mathematical. So do you see any similarities between writing code and writing music?
So that's a funny thing is I think of writing software as being more creative personally for me than music. Like I don't write a lot of original music for me, that's like, it's a social thing. Like playing music is a thing to get together with friends or to get together with family. And like, you know, we play our favorite songs. You know, I've got a lot of family in the Northeast, and we have like a family jam every year. And like, you know, we play the band, we play the Allman Brothers, we play the Grateful Dead, we play like all these things where it's like, if somebody shows up, if you've got a couple extra guitar players or a few extra drummers, it's like, it's just more fun.
Yeah.
Right?
More players, more fun, for sure.
Yeah. So like that, for me, playing music is more of a social thing, and it's sort of like a technical and like sort of like a discipline sort of practice thing, right? It forces you to focus. It forces you to like be aware of your surroundings and pay attention to what other people are doing.
Yeah.
So that you can play a part, harmonize with it, instead of just like, all right, everyone's making noise at the same time, right? There's a sort of it's an extremely social thing when it's going well. For me, software is like an extremely creative pursuit, because like there are sort of rigid structures and you have to understand what you're doing. So there is this very analytical approach, but there's also like, for every constraint, there's that sort of gives you a problem space to work in. So you have this sort of bounded creativity. So it's not just like, okay, if you just sit hard and think enough, there's basically a problem space to explore, and you try to figure out how, like, you want to get a result, and there's a lot of ways to go at it, and basically how you navigate the constraints is the sort of extremely creative part to me.
Interesting.
And it's extremely enjoyable. Like if I'm working on a problem, I mean, you've been around me where I'm like, come bursting through the door of the ski house. I'm like, I got to work on this. I got an idea. And, you know, that's, you know, just hammer out the details to the wee hours of the morning, and then get up, hit the hill, and, sleep when we get back.
I find that fascinating. Where does logic and creativity overlap for you?
I mean, that's a tough one. Like, I don't really separate it, but it's like, I enjoy a problem. I enjoy something, like working on something that people perceive as difficult, or especially if it's like, if we can crack this thing that helps our business, that helps our, you know, I work for companies, so like it helps business, right? Typically that's what I'm trying to do, but like I get usually the opportunity to work on the problems that are really vexing people. So like, oh, we're stuck on this. If we could figure out how to get this thing to go, or figure out a good solution for this, or something that helps people. You know, the reason you make software is to help people. You want to help people do their job better. You want basically to help computers leverage and get out of the way. A lot of people, like, their experience with technology is like, it's just another thing that gets in my way. It's another thing that bothers me, right? So what I'm trying to do is basically make the machines work for people, so that they can do a better job and they can be more human. They can do human stuff instead of like hammering through spreadsheets and copy pasting stuff and stuff around.
And now with the advent of machine learning and AI and how it's prevalent in almost every business, I would imagine you guys are implementing a lot of that into your workflows. How has that made a difference in the workflow for you and your teams? And how much of it do you utilize in the workflow? Is it like, are you guys doing like 30%, 70%? Like, are you, cause right now you can have AI code and do everything that like a mid-level engineer could take on.
So that's the thing is, a lot of these things.
Where's the human element? Like
a lot of these tools, they produce stuff that's like low to mid. And the thing is, like, you know, everyone's got low to mid-level engineers on their team. And, you know, you want to work with them to like level them up, but also what that does is it allows you to sort of delegate certain responsibilities to them. The thing is, these AI tools, they work a lot faster than, you know, they type faster than I can. So like what it does is it puts you in this position of like kind of supervising stuff or really trying to guide it. So instead of like spending your time like basically setting up a lot of framework stuff, you can tell these AI tools to basically go and like
build the guardrails.
Kind of go set some stuff up. Like think of it as framing the house, right? Like you're not going to have it do the finished carpentry. You're not going to have it like do the moldings, because like, you know, it's really good at whacking together. It's going to
do all the rough framing.
Yeah, getting the shape of things, getting things sort of set up so that you can really get to your work.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like, there's definitely people that I'm working with I would say they're heavy users of these AI tools, and other people are sort of like they're not quite adopted yet.
Would you consider them purists or people who are like?
The funny thing is, I used to be a purist, and it's like craftsmanship for me, and it's like I'm not going to let these things like try to take this job. But what I found is that if you can give it a good example or instruct it good enough, like you get in this position where it really does make you faster. So you don't have to spend your time sort of doing the busy work or like getting a lot of stuff set up. You can be like, set this up. And then if it's getting the answer wrong, you can be like, stop. And then sort of make some changes and then be like, okay, now here's an example. Now we have to go and like apply this example a whole bunch of places. So it really is this sort of symbiotic relationship, right? Like it's not going to go and do amazing work on its own, but it can really help you do some amazing work very quickly. And also another thing that it's really good at is like in software, like we write software to test our software. So it's really good if you get something and you don't have tests on it, you can say, let's make some tests for this thing. And it'll be extremely exhaustive.
So the auditing component of it is extremely useful.
Yeah. So you basically tell it to audit you, then you go audit what it puts out. And then the sort of product of those two, like, one hand watches the other or something.
Yeah. So it's a level of plan redundancy that you put into the workflow that can allow you to better streamline and create more efficiencies at scale.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's like a lot of people are like, this is going to replace everybody, but it's like, well, there's still like a good senior engineer knows a whole bunch of things that like keep your site up, they keep it reliable and operational.
Yeah.
And if it's just like, if you got no experience and you have one of these AI tools, like great, it can like write something, but it's really not going to help you deploy it, run it, or like when it tips over, what are you going to do?
That's interesting. So in a world where tech is moving fast, how do you slow down enough to stay human in all the process? Because you're at a director level, yeah. Correct? So you've got teams, you've got people that you're working with, probably here and abroad. Like what do you, because of this AI learning potentially taking people's jobs, how do you guys stay human, like really keeping that level of human contact intact and really, keeping the team vibe strong,
Okay. So like one of the things that we do is we tend to keep our teams small. And, even though the company I'm at is sort of globally distributed, the small teams all meet on Zoom, cameras on, so you know who they are. Mm-hmm. Twice a year, we have retreats so that we all actually
good.
We get together. We cook together, eat together.
You play.
Like, generally, just spend time, hang out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there's some work stuff sort of interspersed, but it's mostly like socializing, like really building bonds with these people so that they're real humans to you instead of just like a face in a square, like Brady Bunch mode on a screen.
Right.
And like for me, the sort of human thing is like having analog hobbies, and like I've got a son, Callum, a 3-year-old, almost 3. Couple more days, but he's extremely energetic, busy kid, and basically, once it's time to close the lid of the computer, it's
turn
basically chasing him until it's bedtime.
That's awesome.
I mean, before I had a kid, one of I would say that like my superpower was the ability to just like spend time on something till I figured it out. Mm-hmm. Like I could grind away, get it figured out, and then be like, okay, we're done, rest.
Play.
Put that thing into practice. Yeah. Basically, like recover from like it's almost like a professional sports thing. Like you're just doing like a marathon or something. Like you run. You figured it out. Okay, rest. Figure out how to put that into practice.
Do you think that music has allowed you to connect more with your family, your son, your friends, your family, and like help you kind of recover and regenerate from like a lot of these big problem solving mental exercises?
I mean, absolutely. There's something about like making a loud noise that just really lets you get some energy out and sort of resets you. Especially like, at the end of a band practice, like how do you feel? Like if you've been like singing or playing something, like you just expelled all of this energy into the world.
Yeah.
You're like, You need to sit down for more than a minute. You
Yeah.
need to sit down. You need to like eat something. You
Yeah.
need to do just like sort of turn some stimulus off. And yeah, I think that's like, it's a great hard reset because like it's almost like going for a really long run or something. Like you just sort of like, you push through some stuff. There's always like, there's limits in playing, there's limits in running, there's limits in all sorts of things. So it's like you go and sort of like try to get yourself as close or over that personal limit, and then sort of like take a step back and relax. Just like I was saying, it's like, you know, when you're really focused on a problem, like you're just going, and you know, you need to like appreciate that you just put all that effort in, and then like sort of reset and then sort of put those things into practice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. The music that we play, we started a group.
Yeah.
It's called the Mixtape or Mixtape Company, however way you want to say it.
The or not the
Mixtape Company. I'm curious to know, because we haven't really talked too deeply about that, other than getting together, having fun, socializing, playing covers. You know, we've been playing together for probably 8 years now. When we started skiing together, picked up the guitar, and we started making noise in the cabin. And then that inspired the heck out of me, man, to pick up the guitar and like really get serious about it. So, you know, I picked up myself a Fender Stratocaster, an acoustic, and then like it freaking snowballed, dude.
Yeah.
Like it snowballed to the point where now we've got a band. We played our gig locally.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we're taking it seriously. What do you feel is like the heart behind Mixtape Company?
The heart behind Mixtape Company. You know, I think between you, me, and our drummer Jonathan, I think we all kind of like, we want whatever that is that we get by playing together. Like, you know, there's something about like, there's a certain challenge about learning a piece of music, and there's like this sort of commitment. It's like a team sport, right? Like you don't want to let your team down. So you want to make sure that when you come in, like you're ready to play, you're going to play your part. You're going to nail your solos. You're going to be sort of on the marks. You're going to know the songs. Right. And you know, I feel like that's just like, just like anything I enjoy, like it's got to be difficult, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't know why I'm like that.
Well, that's where all the gold is, you know, on the other side of the mountain, man.
Yeah, there's a certain satisfaction in like trying something hard and doing it, or like doing something that other people find too difficult, or you know. So, but also just like, you know, before I moved out here, I played in some bands back home. I used to go to like open jam nights and just like,
cool,
you know, just like literally like pick up games from musicians. Like, okay, we've got no plan, but we got a guy that plays drums, we got a guy that plays bass, and we got a couple guitarists here. Let's see what we can do with it.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes it's complete chaos, and other times like people lock in, you get a sound, or somebody brings like a riff or a groove or something, and you can just like, you know, 15 minutes pass, and you're like, wow, everyone just had a lot of fun. Yeah, high five. Let's. Yeah. You never met, or like you may have met each other, but it's like you never did that together, but it all just came together, and it was sort of like magic because everyone sort of prepared on their own time.
I think that's why I think that's a big reason why we love to play so much, is because we have that moment of being in the pocket, and it's just like you feel like time stops. And it's like it's a really magical experience, and a big reason why I love playing with you guys. The beginning of your music, where did that come from? Did your parents play music? I know you've got a big family. You got like what, 7 or 8 brothers and sisters. So like, did you guys have a family group, or where'd that come from?
Yeah, so I've got 4 brothers and 2 sisters, and so adding me, that makes 7. I'm the second of 7. Yeah, so my extended family on my mom's side, there's a lot of family in like the North Philadelphia area, and they all through like, you know, 70s and 80s, they all played in bands, and so one of my uncles decided that like he was tired of seeing everybody at funerals and decided to start throwing this annual jam. So everyone would get together, you know, meet the cousins on good terms instead of bad terms.
Yeah.
And so like that was always sort of going on. And like my parents they were into music. They didn't play music. Like my mom had a guitar, like just sort of, it was never tuned, barely had strings on it. It was always sort of in a state of disrepair. It was around. But, you know, so we would also go to like these other parties where like, you know, people in the bands that they knew, they would get together and play. So it's like, we're just always seeing these friends get together and they just, you know, pick up their instruments and play. It's like, that seems like a lot of fun. People are going way out of their way to do this. People are making drives and cross country to like show up for basically one day, plug it all in, make the noise for just the people that are there, and then head home.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So that was there. But like for me personally, like I got started playing trumpet in elementary school. I got kicked out because I forgot my trumpet too many times for lessons. And yeah. And then I really wanted to play guitar. You know, I basically, for me, like I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. I was like, holy shit.
Yes. Life-changing album.
I gotta do that. Do that. I need to get one of these things. So, you know, I did. I pushed a lawnmower, eventually got a really crappy guitar from BJ's Wholesale Club. your sort of Costco-ish store. They've got everything. Maybe some of the things you shouldn't get from them, but you know. So that was my first guitar, and there used to be this site called Olga, the online guitar archive, and you could go, and it was basically like all the mailing list stuff of people sending tabs before there was things like Ultimate Guitar. So like if you wanted to know how to play a Nirvana song, you go type this into Olga, you'd see a bunch of different hits, and then you go and like sort through the tabs to find one that, you know, sounded right when you played it. And I did that for, you know, years, you know, just learning different songs. And then I got into Jimi Hendrix. I feel like Jimi Hendrix is like the person that teaches so many people how to play guitar.
So many. Yeah.
You know, you hear like that first Voodoo Child or something, you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
And, you know, that sort of sends you down a rabbit hole. But so I was like a kind of a crappy player for a number of years. And
how old were you when you picked it up?
I want to say I was like 12 or 13.
Okay, cool. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm thinking of like basically like the 7th grade.
Like right when you're 7th grade, starting out, teenage, you know, grunge music. Like yes.
Yeah, we had access to computers at school, so I'd go like print out tabs and take them home. I had like
cool.
a whole folder of tabs in my backpack. But then, you know, I sort of like stopped for a while. And then again, like I went to one of these parties that I was talking about, and it's like I saw, you know, a couple of my uncles and a whole bunch of friends, and like basically everyone from Rome, New York in like the late 70s and early 80s were hanging out and jamming. It's like, man, I should really like get back into that. And then I bought a good acoustic guitar. I was like, I'm just going to like start fresh. And the Tenacious D album was fresh and topical. So I basically got a good, my Takamine guitar that I still have, the black Takamine.
Yep.
Worked through the entire Tenacious D album, and I was like, okay, this is good. I'm like on top of things. I sort of like revisited all the stuff that I glossed over before.
Yeah.
And then I got an electric guitar, another electric to like really start working on that. And then started going to like open jams and just like hanging out. So it's like I didn't have a band, but I knew where people were playing that also didn't have a band.
Yeah.
And I was doing that for a little while. And I was the music director of this, I'd say local personality that used to frequent this club that we went to. The gentleman's name was Rainbow Young. And basically if there was a place that had an open mic, he would show up and bring like an accordion or a trombone or whatever. And he was, you know,
interesting
he
guy.
Was a local eccentric.
Yeah.
But he was sort of well loved at this one place. And he had this sort of long running band called the Rainbow Young Orchestra. And for a while, he enlisted me as the music director, which meant I had to go and get people that were willing to play with him. And so as a guitarist, I'd go out and sort of like, you know, in this sort of club that we went to, like, hey, you know, you want to do drums and whatever. And so we had like a pretty sort of standard jam band set up for a while. We had a guy on keys, we had a guy playing bass, I was playing guitar and drums, and then Rainbow does front and center whatever he brings.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a trombone, sometimes it's a hand drum. You never know what he's going to bring. And,
that's kind of cool.
You know, and on his birthday, like we packed out the local club and just like it was just pure chaos. It was pure chaos, but it was also a lot of fun. And because like we sort of built this band to support that. Like we knew that we were getting into just pure chaos.
Yeah.
We sort of built things around like, the 2-chord jam sort of structure, like anything where there's almost no wrong way to go, but we could like stretch it out or take it in directions.
Sure. So you didn't take any lessons growing up, or did you have a mentor or somebody like that you, other than probably playing with a lot of people, really helped you get like sharp with the chops,
So I got kicked out of trumpet lessons. I don't read sheet music. I can probably name the notes on the first 2 strings of my guitar or on the bass. But
everything's feel, everything's
like, I know
you hear it,
like
you play it.
I couldn't take you through all of the modes, but I know that there are modes, and I know like, if I sat down, I could like pencil something out, but like these are not things that I do from memory.
Which is, to me, bro, really interesting, because the whole musical theory and the systematic approach to playing the guitar, to me, initially when I first met you, I thought that was your thing, because software engineer, everything's logical. You're coding, it's like very systematic. But with music, you're just like, fuck it, I'm going to play it, and I'm going to hear it, I'm going to feel it, and then I'm going to express it, which to me is like really, really interesting, because they're 2 completely different worlds,
Well, I feel like being able to like speak through your guitar is a little different than being able to like write it down on sheet music and give it to somebody else. Be like, this is exactly what I want you to speak.
Sure.
Like it would be a lot more effort for me to like write something down than it would be to just like play it. And like, you play, so you start to get a feel for like where certain things are relative to things. And the more you play, like the more you're like, okay, if I need to make this sort of like relative jump, right? Because everything is relative. Like you have your root note, and then you have the things that you can easily reach, or in either direction.
The box.
Yeah, you got the box, but you've also got things that you can reach. So like you get this sort of like relative pitch, and you can get a lot of people, generations of people have been like doing stuff by just like relative pitch and having a feel for that. So like there is this sort of rigorous side. I'm not really part of that.
Any particular reason why, or is it just
I got kicked out when they were teaching it. They teach that in elementary school, and like
you're
if you
like,
don't
screw
have,
this.
Yeah, and like when you start downloading tabs, like it's just like numbers on lines.
Yeah,
it just tells you what string to press, and like you got to hope that you put it in the right tuning. If they put the tuning notes at the top, why is this wrong? It's like everything's in E flat.
So you earlier you said your father. You got a 3-year-old, Callum.
Pending 3.
Pending 3-year-old. He looks like he's 5, honestly.
Yeah, he's a big fella.
He's a big boy. How has that identity reshaped your ideas of success, time, and presence as a professional, as a musician?
So, I sort of touched on this before, is like I used to think that my superpower was just be able to like focus for extremely long periods of time.
Yeah.
But now, like, he's got to get dropped off at 8 a.m. He's got to get picked up at 5 p.m. There's not a lot of wiggle room there.
Yeah.
So
you're like 12, 15-hour like brain dumps have like been shortened.
Yeah, I get the daycare hours, and now like he sleeps through the night and everything like that. So things are a little more regular, and I get like all of that time now.
Yeah.
But like when he was like 1.5 and 2, not quite sleeping through the night or being fussy or about something, like
got to put it down.
I'd just be like completely burnt out going into the workday. Like, guys, I got to take some PTO. I'm not okay. Like, I could not take a nap and just like sit here, or I could like take a nap and like get some good hours in, or but like or it's like, okay, you do what you can while he's at daycare, and then there's the evening routine, and then once he's asleep, it's like, do you take care of more stuff? You hang out with your wife.
So Rachel works too. So you guys were dinks for a while, and then Callan comes and completely reshaped your schedule.
She took her family leave, then I took my family leave, and then then we had to figure out how to make it work when we were both working. And that sort of reshaped everything. Like when you don't have any kids, you can be like, I don't care about making dinner tonight, or let's go out and DoorDash or something. Or just like whatever, we can just eat like raccoons out of whatever we have in the cabinet, But when you have a kid, you have to put something on the table. You have to put something on the table every single mealtime. It's like, okay, you got to get into that routine, and it is sort of an unyielding routine, as you know. Like
For sure.
Yeah. So it just sort of like forcibly reorients you. And like, it's not like we didn't cook. Like we both love cooking, and we, you've had beef Wellington that Rachel makes. Like we do sort of like intricate high energy stuff. And we also do like, regular home cooking, but like, even when you know how to do it, even when you're good at it, it's still like the sort of effort of doing it every day is
the rig 'em in the roll, man.
Yeah. So, it definitely changes your routine. Your house is not as clean as it used to be.
So how do you talk to Callum? And do you bring in your expertise in tech and music and creativity? Like what sort of stuff are you teaching him at the age of going to be 3 now?
So he's a busy little guy, and he's very observant. Everything he sees, everything, like, he'll point to something and be like, "There's batteries in there." Or like, okay, let's change the batteries, or like let's work on this stuff. Like I've got a couple like kid synthesizers that we play with together. And when one of them gets quiet, he's like, okay, it's time to change the batteries. I'm like, okay, let's get the screwdriver. And he picks out the screwdriver, gets like the right bit into it. And I'm like, okay, open it up, and I'll like hold it for him so he can twist it. And he twists it in the right direction more often than like I've seen grown men that still haven't figured out which direction to turn it in.
Righty tighty, lefty loosey, guys.
It's like, okay, open it right up. Like he's very curious, and he's just like, he wants to get into something, and he knows that there's something like beneath the screws that you can like open up and look at. So without letting him get like too destructive, I'm trying to give him an opportunity to have Callum's turn. It's Callum's turn. It's Callum's turn. It's like, okay, buddy, as much as I can let you responsibly.
Right. Are you giving him an instrument? Is he going to be your drummer? Like what? Like I'm sure you've got some ideas. Or thoughts.
So I've got. I'm a big Ableton user outside of the band setting. So like I had. I basically made him an Ableton set, and he could just like, I have a push controller, and he was probably the only kid in his preschool that like plays on Dad's Pro Gear. But like, so yeah, it was fun. So like I set up a set for him, and like basically set it up so he's got all the buttons he can press, and there's no wrong buttons, and it'll just sort of play sequencer stuff. And I was like, okay, I probably need to get you away from like a full size MacBook and like a push controller and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I got the smaller, like the company Playtime Engineering. They make a
cool.
couple things called Blipbox. Like there's a Blipbox and then Blipbox My Tracks, which is like a more grid oriented controller.
Cool.
And people are like, oh, you got that for yourself. It's like, I'm going to be honest, this is for us to share. Like,
I want to play too.
He can play with it unsupervised. I can play with it unsupervised, and we can both play together because they connect up to each other. So like, it's very similar. Awesome. It's like a smaller version of like you're probably way out of your depth for this. But, he gets in there, he'll just like turn it on. Like, I had to sort of push him to like figure it out. But after he figured it out, like it's just always out. It's ready to turn on. It's just like a guitar. You keep it strung and ready to go.
Love it.
And he'll just go turn it on. He'll like find a groove or something, start dancing or running around the living room. Then he'll get bored and he'll go and like tweak it again until it's like cool again. Repeat the process.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
We've also got like a little a kid guitar. It's called a Lug guitar. It's got 3 strings on it, and it's like tuned the same way.
Cool.
Haven't really got interested in that. Like I got him that because he always wanted to play my guitar, but he wants to play my guitar because it's mine.
Because it's your guitar.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So I got him that. He's like, I don't want this one. I want the big one. So
I want the one that Dad plays.
Yeah, but like you can't force them to do anything, but you just sort of like keep that kind of stuff around. So if they want to, it's all good. Like I've been telling them, like once you're responsible enough, you can anything in the guitar rack you can borrow. You got to be nice to it.
Yeah.
So like what as soon as he's probably when he's an older kid and he's got like just not as chaotic, right? He can just go and whatever he'd like. You want to play banjo? Grab the banjo and play.
Fatherhood is a completely different experience than just being a husband or an uncle. You know what I mean? What lessons from software, music, or fatherhood have made you a better version of yourself?
Fatherhood has sort of given me a sort of reset my perspective. So for a long time, I was sort of working with junior engineers and helping them sort of get their legs under them and sort of, level up and become productive and sort of figure things out. And a lot of that was like, okay, what are the things they're going to stumble on, and what can I do to like get things ready so that when they get there, they can appreciate that there's something, but they don't have to be stuck on it forever. And it's like, so sort of taking those lessons and being like, I have this little human intern, this little tiny dude, right, who needs to learn everything, but like maybe he doesn't need to like be stuck on everything, right? So it's like, I want to teach him how to do, whatever it is. He's a very busy kid, very energetic. So like, if he wants to do something, I sort of tend towards like, let him try if it's within reason, right? If he's not going to hurt himself, like, sure, let's go for it. Or like we're in swim lessons right now, and it's like he wants to just like jump off and just swim. It's like, well, I'm right here. Yeah. What's like the worst that happens is he gets a mouthful of water, and you just pick him up. It's like, all right, what did we learn there? But like you just sort of let them keep trying, and you got these guardrails on. And, actually, like he's got one of these balance bikes, and that was a thing that sort of made it click. It's like, okay, like the first couple times you take him out, it's like you're not even walking. You're like just sort of standing there. Bike? Yeah, one of the scoot ones. So it's like it's got no pedals, but it's also got no training wheels. Right. And it's like you make almost no movement. They sort of complain about it. You spend a lot of time just like walking around carrying the bike. Yeah. But like then there's the time you take it out and like you set them down on it, and they do their normal grousing, and then like they figure out that there's like this little glide component of it, right? So you take the step, and they're like, oh wow, that's fun. And like they get going, then they get that first taste of balance. They pick their feet up, they're like, whoa, and then they freak out a little. But like it basically goes from like 0 to like this clicks, and then suddenly they're scooting around and they're being fearless, and like you went from like, oh man, how long am I going to be carrying this balance bike to like, get back here, don't run into traffic, to like, like you can't take them out in flip flops because you have to be ready to like full blown run, run, running shoes, and they are tied tight. So
right. So direction, stewardship, guidance, patience, those are all things that I know I learned real fast. So, we talk a lot about wealth and wellness on the show. I'd be super interested to hear like what those words mean to you.
Let's see, wealth it's tricky because they're a little bit open-ended, but sort of like, wealth has a certain like monetary component to it, but like also for me, it's like a level of freedom and autonomy, right? Like I've been sort of fortunate that I've had jobs where they basically want me and my opinions. So like, it's not very prescriptive, the work that I do. So it's more like, we have this problem, how can we figure it out? And so I get a lot of leeway. So like, that's extremely important for me. Like having some autonomy, having my opinion respected, and being able to go and like basically bring my whole self to the table to like figure out what's going, versus like, assembly line work or something. Like just do the thing that we told you and just keep doing it until you, get tired and expire or something. So like having that sort of personal freedom, in a career, and having, the freedom and the flexibility to like spend time with my family as I see fit. And so, it's not just like the number in the bank account, for me. It's basically like the freedom and the autonomy, and just, the general sense that like, my opinions are sort of respected, and like that's, so that's the sort of wealth. And for like wellness, it's kind of funny because like I have a kid in daycare, so like I have been like the most sick in these last 3 years that I have ever been in my life. Like Rachel and I both have asthma. Callum probably has asthma, but they don't start calling it asthma until they're 5. So it's like, he's got reactive lung, we got asthma, and every time he comes home with a runny nose, we're like, oh my God, it's going to be 3 weeks.
Man.
So like, it's a little bit ironic to be on a wellness podcast when I've just gone through like the sickest 3 years of my life. But, you know, for me, like, wellness is like a sort of physical activity thing, right? Like, I've been a sort of lifelong athlete. I've never been like a great athlete, but I've always been like running or swimming.
You ran the Beta Breakers recently, right?
I just did Beta Breakers. What was that, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? Yeah, it was the normal race is a 12K, but I signed up for the 15K just for like a little extra punishment. And it's like, it's a little bit sad. You get to the end of Golden Gate Park and there's the finish line to the right for 12K runners.
And you gotta
and
keep
then
going.
for 15K runners, there's only like a couple of us going down and sort of like lonely. you gotta go do an extra 3K. While everyone's over there cheering, passing out beers, passing out bananas and everything. It's like, oh man, all right, gotta earn this. So yeah, so for like wellness is just like, it's this sort of whole thing of like, am I eating good? Am I being physical enough so that I'm like physically strong and like in good shape? You know, I find that like if I'm active, I am in a better mood. I have like, you know, just like all sorts of things start falling in line when you have like a decent regimen. And also like, you know, the ski season rolls around. Hopefully I'll be like top shape. So the first couple outings, not like sucking wind up at altitude and just like getting the altitude sweats, you know. Like, it's like 0 degrees out and I'm just pouring sweat. Yeah. Just it's the whole thing together, right? Like you can't really separate all these things and be like, well, I'm doing really great here and all these other things are going to seed. So like, you know, it's really about just having your life together and
a balance.
Yeah.
What do you think we get wrong about balance, and what's your version of a well-designed life?
I mean, I think I was speaking to that, like sort of freedom, autonomy, respect kind of stuff. And just having time to like make sure that, that you don't let anything go. Like, I mean, we all know somebody in our lives that is like, they spend way, way, way too much time working. They don't take care of themselves. And just like, they're like, oh, I'll take care of that later. I'll take care of that later. It's like, you're not going to get to later if you don't do some things now. Yeah. So it's a matter of making sure that like, you're not just letting something completely go. And you know, that you have time. I keep saying, you know, a lot, and that's bumming me out a little bit, but like, that you have time for the things that you enjoy. You have time to go and play music with your friends. You have time to go out to dinner with your wife. You have time to go camping as a family. Freedom. Yeah. 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 Freedom, balance, like variety, right? Nobody wants to do the same thing every day. We probably all do some version of the same thing every day to like connect to those. We're creatures of habit. To those opportunities to do something different. Yeah. Right. So no, I mean, if you have more to touch up on that, that'd be great. We'd love to listen. I think a lot of the audience really resonates with what you're saying. You know, the autonomy, the freedom, how wealth isn't always something that's monetary, and how wellness is this all-encompassing lifestyle, because we all want to live long, healthy lives and be able to accomplish things that we have on our to-do lists that are goal-oriented, that are bigger picture stuff. I think a lot of the audience has, you know, this bigger why that, you know, they've subscribed to, that they want to help fruit in their own lives. What's next for you creatively or professionally that excites you right now? Booking a next gig? Yeah, you know, we did our first gig. We sort of like went through the motions and like set everything up, tore it all down, played all the music, and you don't do that just once, right? It's its own sort of routine, and it's also the thing that's like, we're playing music because we want to go and like basically help people have a good time, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
Where are we going to do that? Do we go do that as a club? Do we just like, okay, this is a thing that we do, and maybe we like set up a party, basically throw a party and invite our friends? Or I would probably tend towards like a mix of like gigs, because gigs you meet other musicians, you might have some people that you want to play with, or you know, it's sort of, you want to cross pollinate a little bit.
Yeah.
Professionally, I mean, I'm at a really good place right now. I'm not really sure what the next thing is. Right now, I'm in a very sort of individual, like a high-level individual contributor role, and I've also got opportunities to sort of develop a couple teams. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, so for me, it's a matter of finding balance, because I find if I get a little too much into developing people, like there's a sort of like yearning to go and like do something big.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's for me, it's a matter of like sort of striking that balance so that I can, like I said, it's extremely creative and fulfilling to be able to go and like build something big, but it's also it's not really sustainable to just be that guy doing one thing forever. So that's sort of what I'm professionally working towards, is like trying to still get that like that dopamine hit of doing that, like doing the sort of big individual contributor work, but also like then bring the team along, or you know, make sure that there's a team there to like sort of receive that and continue to move that forward, right? Because if you keep on doing these things individually, you wind up being the only person maintaining them.
It can only get so far.
That's a huge risk, but also like those individual responsibilities, they will crush you under their weight.
100%.
So it's, you know, even if you do want to get in and do that creative thing, like you still need to be aware and ready to involve a team and ready to develop that team around maybe the idea that, you know, it wasn't there before, but now you have it. Now you have to maintain it.
Yeah.
That's the problem with ideas in software, is like, once you have them, you have to maintain them. And that sort of work is never done. Like, software projects don't end. They fail. That's when they end, is when they fail. But a successful software project is never done.
It's never done.
It's this sort of ongoing thing. A security thing will come out. You have to change it. Or like this new technique will come out, and you know, maybe you got to go ahead and update it. So it's all part of like making these sort of ongoing efforts sustainable.
Yeah. And probably a big reason why you're still in it, because it's mentally engaging. There's always a problem to solve. And for me, solving problems is a boatload of fun, because once you solve them, it's like you have this dopamine rush. I cracked this nut. And then the ongoing management and the maintenance of making sure that problem doesn't unravel itself and become worse is, you know, the tending of the garden, tending of the teams. And for me, like, team is everything. We wouldn't be able to get to, you know, leaps and bounds and reach the horizons that we want to without having a team.
Absolutely.
This is awesome, Craig. I really appreciate you being here, and talking about music and creativity and technology, and you know, it's just been a really great conversation. Everything usually ends here on the show with like a rapid fire round of questions. It's a series of 5 to 10 questions. Man, are you ready?
I guess so. Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. You can answer these in a sentence or less. First one is coffee or tea?
Coffee. I was drinking tea today, but as I said when I came into the studio, I ran out of coffee, and we have to order more from Red Bay Roasters. So
cool. I think you answered this earlier, but the first instrument you ever picked up?
The first instrument I ever picked up was probably actually a harmonica.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I think my dad came home from like a company Christmas party with one of those like learn harmonica books that comes with a harmonica, and just like, here, whatever. So I went through the book, you know, played some songs on it, got like okay with it, and then sort of forgot about it. And actually, I have a box of harmonicas so that I can, like, you know, do the old Tom Petty
or the Neil Young deal,
the Neil Young or Bob Dylan thing. Don't do that much, but like, it's still there, and you know, with a little bit of practice, I can get through some stuff.
This one's for the software engineers. What's the most underrated coding language?
That's a funny one. So I'm a big fan of Ruby, and I've been using Ruby on Rails since around 2006. And I would say it's underrated. Even there's some pretty high-profile success stories out there, like GitHub and Shopify. Shopify, like the largest independent online retailer. Yeah. They're not Amazon. They're huge. But like, I feel like it got a bad rap. Like, it was really cool and everyone was doing it for a while, and then everyone's like, I don't know, it's got some limitations and I don't like it. But the tooling around it, it really gives you, it lets you make a huge impact with a small team. There's a lot of things out there where you need these massive, like 100-strong engineering teams to like get these global products out, and it's just not really the case with Rails and Ruby on Rails. So I'm gonna give that my vote, saying it's the underrated, because like you can do an enormous amount of damage with that as a small team, and that's basically like the company I'm at. We're all in on that. That's our strategy, is to be able to have a small team, and so we don't have these massive like offshore teams or something. So we have just a handful of smart people making a huge impact.
Love that.
Yeah,
cool. This one's probably gonna be hard to answer. Favorite band of all time?
So I'm going to have to give this to the Grateful Dead. And why is because they sort of planted the seeds of all these other things that I love. Like, I love the Allman Brothers Band. I love the band Fish. But like...
The ultimate jam band.
Yeah, literally the granddaddy of all jam bands is the Grateful Dead. And like, part of the reason why they're amazing is because on the Internet Archive, there is an audio archive. There's a live music archive, and you can go and find every single recorded Grateful Dead show on there, because from the very early days, they allowed tapers. They've released soundboard recordings. So you can go and you can find, there's this whole army of enthusiasts out there that go and take these field recorded audios and they mix them and they master them. And like, they go through the process of taking stuff that doesn't sound great and making it sound, you can put it on your car stereo and it sounds amazing.
So they're celebrating 60 years this year, correct?
Indeed. I got tickets for 3 days at Golden Gate Park.
So that must be a humongous library or archive. Like, if you were to take it all and put it into a drive, you'd probably need like...
it's terabytes. It's massive.
Massive. Okay, most used app on your phone that's not email or Slack.
Probably web browser. Probably Safari.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Is there anything else in there? Yeah, probably Safari. I got Reddit. I don't do Facebook. I have a very tenuous relationship with Instagram, because that's like a backdoor to Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm sort of done with like the social media stuff that just like puts you like face to face with like people who haven't moved on from high school. I'm not doing that. So my most used app is probably the web browser, or maybe the Reddit app.
Cool.
I enjoy Reddit because it's basically just a lot of people really enthusiastic about stuff talking, like software development, guitars, guitar pedals.
Oh, so much.
Many guitar pedals.
So many. And by the way, that Instagram post there, or that share that Steve...
the pedal mouse.
I got to get one.
Yeah.
I got to get one. What song always gets you in the pocket or in the zone? Is there a track that you just love?
Southbound by the Allman Brothers Band. It's got a really great guitar hook on it, and like when the bass just hits, I feel like that's like bank robbing music or something, like something that you put on in some sort of like tuned out car, and you just
go.
Yeah, light up the tires and just like fly. I don't know. Every time I put that on, like, wow, just something needs like
that's a good
Hurst shifter, something like.
Okay. How about a parenting lesson that applies to software engineering?
Always have a backup plan. That diaper's going to explode. That kid's going to jump off something.
That's a good one.
Yeah, you have to be ready to recover from mistakes. There will be mistakes. You have to be ready to recover from them.
Wow, that's a good one. I like that. One thing you wish more people understood about engineers?
I don't know. We're very persnickety people. If somebody says something that is wrong, it takes every bit of our energy to not be like, well, actually. Yeah.
That's solid, Craig.
Yeah. It like they call it nerd sniping, right? When like you say something that's like sort of intentionally wrong to get somebody like to get
Riled
somebody's
up.
attention. Yeah. Or there's also, I forget, it's like one of those internet rules. I forget the exact name of the rule, but basically the fastest way to get a right answer is to say the wrong thing on the internet. Because you'll have people flying out of the woodworks. Just, hey,
Ready to say something.
Yeah, no, it's actually like this. You're leaving just way off base.
Cool. All right, last one. Finish this sentence. A good life is
exciting.
Cool. Man, that's been awesome. I appreciate you being here, Craig.
Yeah,
on your
thank you
first
for having
podcast.
me.
This is cool. We should do another one, man. Awesome. Another episode of the Wealth and Wellness Report, guys. If you like what you saw today, be sure to hit the subscribe button, comment below. Love to hear your thoughts. We'll see you on the next one.